Baik, selamat pagi Bapak Ibu sekalian. Selamat datang di webinar kali ini dengan tema Transform Digitally to Keep Up to the Game. Sebentar. Ya, jadi webinar ini sebenarnya adalah webinar kedua kerjasama antara Juristek dengan PT Strategic Partner Solution atau SPS. Dan presentasi kali ini akan dibawakan oleh Si Wei Han yang merupakan CEO dan co-founder dari Juristek. Ya. Juristek sendiri adalah sebuah perusahaan fintech terkemuka di Malaysia yang memiliki klien dari perbankan, institusi finansial, dan telekomunikasi di Malaysia. Dan webinar kali ini akan mengangkat tema transformasi digital khususnya di bidang keuangan atau fintech yang berkembang sangat pesat di beberapa tahun terakhir. Saya juga akan didampingi Andi Diputra. Dalam hal ini nanti akan membantu para partisipan untuk menjawab pertanyaan atau kuis. Kemudian, mohon bisa menyimak dan mengikuti webinar ini sampai dengan selesai. Karena pada saat presentasi nanti kan kita sisipkan beberapa tanda di slide yang untuk mendapatkan hadiah berdasarkan topik yang disajikan. Dan di akhir acara setelah kuesioner masih ada kesempatan lagi untuk memenangkan hadiah melalui form yang akan dibagikan oleh Andi. Baik, tanpa menunggu lama lagi, saya akan memberikan waktu kepada Wei Han. Wei Han, please, now I make you a presenter. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Wei Han. Now you are presenter. Is there any problem? Okay.
No, Wei Han, you still mute.
Oh yeah. Wei Han, maybe you can. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for waiting. So let me go and share with you. The topic for today is how to transform digitally to keep up the game. And I will just quickly share with you a bit about what we're going to do. But before that, I think you can see this, every time you see this gift symbol, you can answer a question, and basically you'll be entitled to win prizes of 50,000 rupiah. So without further ado, let me go ahead and start sharing the screen. So okay, so basically our company's name is called Juristek. Juristek is a leading Malaysian-based fintech company. We specialize in enterprise class software solutions for banks, financial institutions, and telcos. Okay, so basically we started in 1997. We have around 300 plus employees. We are serving more than 50 financial institutions. We have more than 3,000 law firms using our software, and we are now in 7 countries. So the range of our solution is from digital onboarding to loan management system to collection to agency management system. Okay, so I'm not going to talk too much about what we provide because I want to quickly go into what I want to present. But since I'm still at this slide, so basically what happens is that now we've actually also acquired another company called iMoney that provides leads to the banks. Okay, so let me just quickly go through and go to the slides. Okay, here are some of our achievements. And now I'm going to talk about the fintech landscape evolution. Give me 1 minute here. Okay, so do you know that people always talk about this industrial revolution, right? There's also this fintech revolution. There's the fintech 1.0, and then of course there's the fintech 2.0 and fintech 3.0. So for those of you who do not know this fintech revolution, let me start with fintech 1.0 is really about building infrastructure. because you need to build infrastructure that supports globalized financial services. And the word fintech during that time has not even been coined yet. So what is fintech 1.0? So for those of you who are old enough to remember, there's this jumbo-sized computers, called mainframes in the 1960s. There's still mainframes now, right? But nowadays we're actually talking about cloud-based computing with, server farms and things like that. But so that was actually how fintech obviously started. And if you talk about globalized financial services, it's only enabled because the first transatlantic cable was built from Canada to Scotland in 1886, which means that you can then transfer money across the globe, So, and if you remember, everything was quite, I would say, analog and physical. If you want to update how much money you have in the bank, you need to bring your bank book, go to the bank and ask them to stamp, yes, this is how much money I have left, okay? So that's fintech 1.0 for you. Fintech 2.0 was really about digitization. So that's when we switched from analogs to digital. Okay, so if you remember, one of the biggest breakthrough in banking obviously is the ATM machine. You don't need to go to the branch, meet someone, you just go to an ATM and, hey, I can withdraw money now, So, and then, so you can see in the 1960s, and there's actually lots of things that happened. There's the first NASDAQ stock exchange, in 1971. And then, of course, there's the check printer, I can write a check and I can give you money, just from the check. And then, of course, in the 1990s, you see that PayPal launched in 1998, first online remittance website. Now I can actually transfer money online. So that's a bit of the transition of the fintech 2.0. Then what is fintech 3.0 then? You can see that the fintech, that's the age of the fintech regulation, and this era marks the opening of regulation to include numerous fintech players to join the market, which some of them are not even banks. Okay, and we actually see a lot of this happening now. And this is partly because of the rise of the smartphone adoption. All of you guys have a smartphone, so which means that you can actually download a lot of financial mobile apps. So you can see that fintech 3.0, what are some of the events that characterized it? One of them was the 2008 financial crisis that hit the world. Then people had lack of trust in banks because of that. Then regulations started to open up to include more market players. And 2009, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies were introduced. So if you've forgotten, it's actually quite some time ago. Then, of course, then we had the smartphone adoption. And 2010s was really the start of the startup eras. That means lots of startups are coming up, including fintechs. And then, of course, the start of open banking. Okay, for those of you who do not know what open banking is, as in Europe, in US, and other parts of the world, right? There's this open banking regulation where the banks need to be open for other players or software companies to connect to them. That's the reason why if you see a lot of these neobanks and digital banks, they started in Europe and all that because of open banking, And so that's actually a bit about the history and fintech 3.0. Of course, now I'm going to talk about fintech 3.5 soon, but let's just remain at our fintech 3.0, right? And then something else that happened that changed and rocked the world, and I call this the tectonic shift. You guys know what it is? It's the pandemic. The pandemic also became a catalyst and actually changed the entire landscape for us. So, because of the pandemic, there is this thing called the acceleration of convergence of digital and physical space. So what does that mean? Let me show you. E-commerce, right? We are talking about US e-commerce penetration, they're keeping track of percentage of retail sales, right? It saw a steep increase in the 8 weeks when the pandemic started. So, and this increase is equivalent to 10 years of increase of e-commerce. Let me show you the graph. So you see that from 2009, right, we have like 5.6% of e-commerce adoption, retail sales, right? And then it took 10 years, right, 2019, to increase to 16%, means close to 10%, correct? But you see that the increase of close to 10% also happened in a matter of 8 weeks because of the pandemic in April 2020. So this is really what you call acceleration. Of course, in healthcare, right, this is is very interesting. You know that actually in Malaysia, we have this problem. When the pandemic hit, the healthcare system, after a while, we couldn't support it. There wasn't enough hospitals, hospital beds and all that, you know. So even if you have money, you can't even get yourself into a proper ICU and all that. So, but China is really amazing. You can see that they can build hospital in 5 days, you know. Who can build hospital in 5 days? The only people that can do it is China. 1,500 room hospital for COVID-19 patients in just 5 days, you know, in the city south of Beijing. So, the Chinese are, I would say they are really remarkable in terms of innovation, all right. Then of course, online entertainment, you know, here, you know, we have a lot of people that uses Netflix, and every night you're just spending time on Netflix. But Disney Plus, right, let me show you what they did. They achieved in 5 months what Netflix took 17 years to achieve. And why? Because of the pandemic. You see, they started in November 2019, and you see in April 2020, Netflix took 17 years to reach 50 million subscribers, of which Disney Plus just recently launched only took 5 months. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that there is something happening that caused us to need to reposition ourselves in this post-pandemic era. Okay, and how do you reposition yourself? This is from Gartner, and this was in July 2020. You can see this Gartner is actually a research company that focuses a lot on IT. And they said that this thing called the reset, outlook post-pandemic, and let's see whether it's correct. And I think it is correct what they did. Number one is that you need to do what you call respond to the pandemic, then you need to have recover, and then you need to have renew. Okay, so you want to see what this response is, means that, you know, the lockdown puts the enterprise into the response phase. You need to respond to the pandemic, correct? Then reopening moves the enterprise into the recover phase, when, you know, suddenly the government say we can actually reopen, no need to lock down anymore. But then there is something that's interesting that's happening. It's called the new normal. Your normal has completely changed, and that's what you call the renew phase. Okay, so response phase, you can see airlines were grounded, over 80% of their plane. My brother is in the tourism industry. He sends tourists to Korea. Completely, he has to like be out of job straight away. He actually became a Grab driver because seriously, there's nothing that he can do, you know, no one's traveling. And we also took in a lot of employees from those in tourism industry and all that, so they were hit. But the positive impacts were like online grocery and delivery. Everyone is buying from Lazada. I'm giving an example, Shopee and all that. Then, okay, so that is the response phase. Then the recover phase is the reopening of society. We thought, you know, like in Malaysia, when we first reopened, we said, oh, you know, there's so few cases. But guess what? It's true what Gartner predicted. Reopening will be immediately followed by another lockdown. And then later, another lockdown. So, and of course, now we have the Omicron variant. So you can see the recover phase is almost as chaotic because of all this lockdown, you know. So, and there's a constantly changing financial and trade landscape. I can tell you how we were impacted. I think a lot of our, because of iMoney, we're sending leads to the banks, right? A lot of the banks didn't know how to react because, you know, we cannot travel more than 10 kilometers. And people new to bank cannot actually open a bank account. So that means you can't give them a loan. But now things have changed. Everybody has adapted, and it's different already. So that's where now we talk about this new normal, which is this renew phase, where the future now starts to become more plannable. And this is when we need to accelerate their plans to renew ourselves and really look at digital capabilities as part of the operations. I can tell you that our companies are serving like banks, financial institutions and all that. So most of the time they start at 8:30 or 9 a.m. So all our guys need to be in the office at 9 a.m. to serve our customers. But now we are all working from home. We've been doing it for close to 2 years. We have a work from anywhere policy. We have a hybrid workplace. That means we have really figured out how to utilize these new digital capabilities for our interactions and our operations. Okay, so now the post-pandemic, there is a planning framework. During Respond, right, actually you really need to look at your business. Do you want to rescale your business, reinvent, return to normal, reduce or retire? That's the reason why during the lockdown, right, we see a number of companies, they went into a panic mode and they actually let go of their staff, you know, they couldn't handle their revenues anymore, they cannot sustain. And And what happened is that some of them actually chose to reduce. Okay, but now there's this phenomenon, I do not know whether you guys know, it's called the Great Resignation. It's coined by the US. They see so many people after the pandemic resign from their jobs. Some don't even want to work, go and move to another company and all that. And part of it is also because a lot of companies let go of people. And then now suddenly they say that they are frantically getting people at even higher prices, and everyone, and this is disrupting the whole economy. So, so that's where we talk about the reopening and what's your new normal going to be like. Okay, for us, we actually chose to reinvent ourselves. Even during the pandemic, we were impacted. Our revenues was compressed, not really compressed, like it didn't grow. Normally, we see our revenues growing all the time because the banks were unclear of what they wanted to do. So some of them put their budgets on hold. So, but at that time, we realized that this was the best time for us to reinvent ourselves, and we actually invested and keep hiring people. So you have to decide what is your strategy. Okay, so now we'll talk about the new digital era for the fintech industry. What is that fintech 3.5? Again, this is actually from Gartner. There's this thing called hype cycle. Hype cycle means that now there are a lot of innovation triggers, people looking into things. So what are some of the things? A snapshot of it, I won't discuss everything. One interesting thing is decentralized finance. Seriously, every day I always think that banks is going to be disintermediated through so many ways. Decentralized finance is actually, you know, if you are familiar with blockchain, there's this blockchain called Ethereum that actually allows people to program and provide decentralized finance without banks. So that means now I can actually create a lot of apps that allows me to like transfer money, you know, provide funds, everything else without needing a bank, and that's using decentralized finance. Then of course, then in Malaysia, we're coming up with a digital banking platform. There'll be 5 digital banking players that will be announced. Then this is something very interesting. This is called non-fungible tokens. If you've never heard of it, it's also because of blockchain. Do you know that the founder and CEO of Twitter, his first tweet, he said that I'm going to sell my autograph of my first tweet, and he put it into the market, and he managed to sell for $2.9 million US. Everyone can see his tweet, right? Why do you want to buy his first tweet? Because you own it. Non-fungible token means non-replaceable. You know, something that you can then, you know, because of blockchain technology, right? You can say that you own a piece of something. So basically, if you look at now, Facebook have renamed themselves to Meta because they say the future of the internet is a metaverse. What is metaverse? Any of your kids that play all these Roblox, Minecraft, and all those things, these are SimCity, or they are metaverse in which there's avatar. So in future, your the internet will be metaverse. But guess what? Because of that, you can build lands. You can build something that's very, very unique, that is irreplaceable, and you can sell it. And some of these non-fungible tokens can be tied to actually physical things as well. So it will completely change the landscape of how we view transactions and trading and things like that. And of course, you know, banking, right? Now, every time I tell the banks, hey, can you put it on the cloud? They'll say no. But now you see that more and more people are actually being open, and they say, yeah, I want to consider what it means to go, you know, on the cloud. Okay. So now that you see all these things are happening, how can you then digitally transform your business and stay relevant? Okay, I'm going to really give something like, you know, a paradigm shift here. When people talk about how can I go digital, we are thinking of all the initiatives and things that we need to do. But actually, really, to be digital is to break down silos, right? And to build what we call a digital culture. If you don't have a digital culture, there's no way you can go digital. Why do I say that? Because I've seen banks try to do it. They take a team that's always doing their business as usual. That means that I'm running my mortgage business, I'm running my microfinance, my personal loan and all that. And this group of people, same group of people is going to run the digital business. I mean, you can do it, but it's not easy if you don't inculcate what I call the digital culture. So what are the 9 characteristics that you need to develop to really go digital for digital business success? I'm going to go through few of them. One of them is digital strategy and execution. You do need to have a bold digital vision and have a strong and well communicated digital business strategy and how you're going to execute that, you know. And then of course, customer experience management. we see a lot of bankers and enterprises, we are still focusing on our products. Nobody cares about products. You need to know that you need to care about the customer. If you look at Netflix and Amazon and all that, and those people that are digital natives, they only care about the customer journey. So unless you move away from that mindset, from product centricity to service centricity, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually go digital. Then digital product service and digital revenue. Okay, there is a new type of revenue that you can create, which is called digital revenue. But why is it that a lot of banks are not doing that? Because you already built all your branches, you're already getting all your sales, so, you know, and you are comfortable. But guess what? If you don't start moving into digital product and service, later one day you might find that, hey, you know, someone else is eating your pie. Okay, so but the digital product and revenue is different. The way you think of how you want to sell and things that you can sell is different. Later, I'll show you some examples of this. So you can create new value with these digital products and services. Then something that also the fourth one I'll talk about is, I think every organization needs to be data driven. How do you know what product to sell? How do you know whether your customer experience is working or customer engagement is working? Is this one thing called infonomics. You need to evolve your capability to successfully monetize data and also use analytics to actually decide what you want to do next. Okay, so every time, you know, someone gives me a hunch and say, maybe you should go this way, I say, let's A/B test it, let's do something and see whether is it working. Okay, if the data is not giving you the results, it means that it's not working, you need to pivot. Okay, so you see, the funny thing about data, right, is that now everybody's talking about alternative data. Every time, you know, I have like bankers, financial systems coming to me, they'll say, hey, do you have alternative data? They're talking about social media, smartphone, and all these things. Do you know the problem with social media data? There's going to be a lockdown, you know, people don't really want you to use the social media data. There's all this privacy, security, and all this kind of stuff. But guess what? Within the bank itself, or within your own enterprise, there's so much data, your existing relationships, conduct of account, your exposure, you know, Internet of Things, labor utilization, some of your customers, the corporate account is there, you know how many staff they have, how much is their salary, how are they paying their guys, you know. So there's so much information, even for manufacturing and all that, that you have not even tapped. And everyone is saying, can we go up here? But below that is amazing. You get so much potential that you can harness. Okay, so then let's talk about digital channels and ecosystem. This is also something that a lot of people overlook. Okay, you see, if let's say I want to buy coffee from Coffee Bean, right? Very few people look at the whole value chain. Where am I going to get the coffee from? How do I derive value? And after they buy the coffee, what else do they want? You know, do they? So this whole value chain, right? If you are in a supermarket retailer, you know how important this value chain is in terms of leveraging everything. So in terms of financial services, it's the same thing. Like recently what we did is that we didn't say that we're going to build everything. We know what the customer wants. So we said they want eKYC, talk with eKYC vendor. They want to OCR bank statements, we're going to talk to OCR bank vendors or that. We don't need to do everything ourselves, but we need to provide that value chain so that we become relevant and we have this ecosystem play. That is going to be very important in the future because everything will be data-centric. If you don't have those data, again, you will be irrelevant. Then business model agility. This is something that a lot of people overlook. You are operating on your same business model, which means that if I ask you how much can you increase revenue next year? Oh, I can increase by 5%, 10%. You can do that. But if you evolve your business model, there's a way for you to disrupt everything that you're doing. And sometimes it's better for you to disrupt yourself than other people to disrupt you. Okay? So, then of course, then innovation culture. A lot of times, when people make mistakes, you don't reward them. Obviously, they're not going to innovate. So you need to change to have that innovation culture. The other reason why bankers don't really go into innovation, right? They're always looking at ROI, return on investment. Oh, is it going to make ROI? Why is it called investment? You need to have that those group of guys that I call it the 3% guys that's willing to invest in innovation and become the forerunners. They may not make a lot of money, but it's okay. They fail, they'll do something else, all that. And you are the one that's creating that entrepreneurship and startup economy so that you become relevant. That's why I always talk to my guys, say, okay, blockchain. What else is happening? I mean, I'm not saying invest in blockchain, but we need to study and find out what is it that we can do and force people or give them that innovation culture, you know, and reward them for innovating. And then, of course, then we talk about digital leadership, you know, change in approach and mindset to leadership. That's where you really break down all these silos and you need to drive cultural change. If you don't change the culture of organization, nothing happens. And I can tell you that we have implemented so many systems for banks. Like when we go in, we will see a culture, and I cannot explain this culture. It's a social norm and rules that everybody go by. For example, there are some banks in which, you know, every time you give them a document, they'll take like maybe 1 month to revert, and then after they revert, they won't sign off because they need to wait for their friend and their friend's friend and friend. So it doesn't matter what project you do, it's the same. It's the culture of the organization that you need to change. Unless you change the organization, you cannot adapt, and you've got to figure out how to change it. Okay, then finally, this is something that I myself am learning, right? Because like I said, digital workplace. You know, for us, we're so used to come to the office by 9. If you don't come, we're going to say, ask the HR, why 9:30? You haven't appeared, etc. and all those things. But we have completely changed. What does it mean? Instead of being location-centric, to be human-centric. What works for this guy? How do you become productive? With this great resignation, how do you give people quality of life? That means that if between 4 to 5 p.m., she is a mother and she needs to cook for her children, let her cook for her children. She can always log in again at 9 p.m. We don't need to check on what she is doing. And we need to give all these capabilities so that we become really human-centric. Okay, so with these 9 digital characteristics, I'm going to talk about how do you move towards business success against the pandemic. Okay, so this is Levi's, right? Everybody's familiar with Levi's. So Levi's themselves, actually, you know, their sales dropped 62% in Q2 of 2020. They had to cut 15% of their workforce. But in Q3, they had digital revenue spiked by 50% in e-commerce business. That's why I say value creation, digital value creation of digital products. So what did they do? You know, they just created this, you know, you can mix and match your clothes, create your virtual closet and all those things, you know, unlock, you know, desire to buy and to shop, you know. So they created this virtual closet experience, virtual concierge, and buy online, pick up in store, maybe, you know, use all your logistics guys and all that. So it's a new focus in digital transformation. Okay. And of course, Levi's also use AI to optimize, you know, different variables, including what items each store had it in inventory, you know, and how close is it to placing, from customer placing the order to shipping, etc. Okay, so now this is the question. Just now actually Dia has a gift, the 50,000 rupiah.
Yeah. Ada tanda hadiah di situ, ya. Ada tanda hadiah, siap-siap ya. Ada.
Ya, okay.
Siap-siap.
Jadi soalannya ialah, okay, what are the give me 2 of the digital characteristics from the 9 that I mentioned that you remember that Levi's adopted. So Pak Diki, you want to say? Anybody, any 2. If you get it correct, then, you know, you will get the first one will get the hadiah.
Iya, dari 9. Oh. Somebody,
cepat.
Okay, ya, Pak Denny. It seems he almost remember everything.
I think Pak Sigit got correct already. Innovation culture and digital leadership is the first one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good job. Okay, never mind.
So the winner is Pak Sigit.
Yes,
Pak Sigit Prayogo. Oke, selamat kepada Pak Sigit Prayogo ya. Tolong dicatat ya, Andi.
Okay, so let's go next. So now, like I said, these are some of the things: that digital leadership, innovation culture. They had digital strategy and execution, very important to execute. Customer experience management. They created a digital product and managed to create digital revenue. And they also use infonomics. Okay, so good job to everyone who attempted. So now I want to talk about Amazon. Do you know that Amazon, they were an e-commerce bookstore, all of us know, you know, they actually tried to sell e-commerce and internet. Then later they realized they need to do warehousing, logistics. It's not cheap to become a bookstore. Then of course they started selling everything besides that. So you'll be surprised that, you know, that only 13% of their revenue is from Amazon Web Services, which is their cloud platform. Okay, but do you guys want to know how much of their operating profit came from AWS? 54%. I think last year was 70%. 54% of their operating revenue came from AWS. So what did they do? They really said that, you know, I'm not just going to be a bookstore or an e-commerce seller. I actually want to become a cloud platform. That's where the digital vision, right, and the capabilities come into play to say that I'm going to innovate and do something else. Microsoft also then say, oh, okay, I'm going to be cloud. That's why they came out with Azure and all that. So it's very important to adopt new technologies to stay relevant and to figure out what you want to do next. Okay, so the other one, of course, is Alibaba. Do you know, I have a friend now, right? He was telling me that, he said, have you been to China lately? Of course, I haven't now, right? He said that when he went to China and he was a speaker, he said they asked him to register and all those things, and he just walked in and there was this facial detection. They knew that he was present. They knew who were all the people that were coming for his speech and all that. So it was really amazing. And he didn't use any of his money because everyone is using wallet. If you have money, you can't use it. You can't use it. So that's actually how I would say pervasive, you know, all their wallets are like Alipay. You know, the homeless, right? They're actually saying that, hey, can you just scan the QR code? Actually, they're not giving money, you know. They're actually getting all these homeless to scan the QR code, and the businesses are harvesting the user data, the people that are walking through, and they're compiling it and selling it for digital marketing. So this is actually quite innovative. And of course, what they did during the COVID-19 outbreak, right? Alipay introduced campaign. They asked third-party developers to create mini programs that will address users' needs. Within 1 week, 181 mini programs were created. This is like the ecosystem play and all that you can see, you know. And there's this company, grocery store, Mei Chai, you know, that connects farmers with consumers at restaurants. They launched a mini program and they got 800,000 new users via Alipay. So it's like very, very amazing in terms of innovation. Then Huawei. Actually, you see, you can see why America is probably afraid of Huawei, right? Because you can see that they developed this 5G technology and they're really the forerunners, you know. So imagine now, if something happens to you and there is, and you're not healthy, you need surgery and all that, but the best specialist is actually not in Indonesia. They're far away, maybe in US or in China or somewhere, right? And if 5G technology is available, you can even use a robotic arm, right? And because of the speed of how much data it consumes and how real-time everything is, right, that someone can perform surgery on you while they are far away. That's how, I mean, 5G will actually really, really change the world. Okay, so, and these applications can also form new revenue streams if you start realizing what these technologies provide and work on these technologies. Okay, so that's, what about the financial industry? I've given some examples, right? I would say that there's something big that's actually happening, which I'm not sure everybody knows now. It's called CDBC. Okay, what is CDBC? Central Bank Digital Currency. And of course, China, as usual, being the forefront, right? They already piloted something called the digital yuan. Okay, what does this mean? You know that we all started with what we call fiat money. Fiat money means that, you know, you call it duit or wang tunai. You know, that means your money, physical paper money, you know. And then now we have something called e-money, because if I give you $2 million US, right, you're not going to take the money and put it under your pillow, right? You will put it in a bank. And we want to transfer the money, you transfer via your app or internet banking. So it's actually really like e-money, you know. But in future, it will be digital money that's powered by Bitcoin or blockchain technology, right? And instead of letting all these, what do you call that, Bitcoin marketplaces and all those things play in this area, what's happening is that the central banks are saying that I'm going to issue this digital currency, and don't worry, it's not like Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin fluctuates, correct? It will be called stable coin. It will be pegged to the currency of the country. But it's powered by blockchain technology, which means that just with a wallet, you can actually start transferring money with each other. You don't need to, like, now I give you $2 million US, put it in a bank. Instead, it will be backed by your central bank. So what does that mean? In future, people may not even deposit money in banks anymore. According to Harvard Business Review, it's October 2015, 2021. If this happens, right, the central bank will, all your money will be with the central bank. You don't need to deposit money. Who knows? They might also provide interest. Banks will actually change then to just provide lending. That's actually scary, right? And a lot of things will actually change if this happens. But one of the major factors for us is privacy. I don't need to text you already, because I can text as you go. I know how much you spend. I know what you do. Every single thing that you have is no longer going to be private. Your government is going to come after you. Okay. No, they will definitely come on regulation and policy and that, but it will be very interesting how the whole landscape will change if this central bank digital currency actually happens. And I can tell you that a number of countries are piloting it, and apparently 80% of a lot of the central banks in the world are actually looking at it. Okay, so now that I've finished all this, now I'm going to talk about transform your business with Juristech. All right. Okay, what do we do, all right? And seriously, what we do is that we try to revolutionize customer onboarding experience. Okay, so for example, can you really provide financing within 3 minutes? I can tell you why we cannot provide financing within 3 minutes. Because a lot of times you do not know enough about the customer, right? The customer can't apply online. They say, here, let me give you 5 million rupiah or whatever. So you'll say that, hey, but I don't even know who you are. So what happens is that in future, right? And actually this is what we are doing in our software now. Instead of you selling your product, say that, hey, I have credit card number 1, credit card number 2, credit card number 3, we just do what we call needs analysis. Find out more about the customer, what the customer wants. Do the KYC, and in future, like I said, if you become an ecosystem play and you have lots of information about the customer, you can straight away using prescriptive AI and offer to this customer based on the service. That means that, hey, you need besides this Visa card, maybe, actually in US, right, there are already debit cards where the interest they give you in Bitcoin. You know that nowadays people are interested in Bitcoin and gold and all that. You can actually tag all these new products to them. And you can also find out, because of the pandemic, maybe you need additional health insurance that can protect you against COVID-19. So this is where it becomes very customer-centric. If you're servicing SMEs, example, and if you have access to their inventory, you can hook up to the ERP or accounting system, and suddenly, let's say they have just stocked up some hazardous goods, that means goods that are dangerous now, right? You can straight away say, hey, you need to increase the insurance premium to protect yourself. So that's where every banks become really service-centric instead of product-centric. Okay. And of course, you see in our software, you can, I think conversational chat is also something else that's actually happening. A lot of people want to be able to converse with the bank, but because if you cannot converse real time, that's where robots, AI, and natural language processing comes in. Okay, so another hadiah moment. So, Pak Diki, so I'm going to ask one question now, right? With Juris Access, right, what I showed you just now, this is our product called Juris Access. Us providing this capability from product-centric to service-centric and all that, what are the 3 digital characteristics that you think is involved here? Wah, so fast.
Ya, 3 karakter yang relevan dengan Juris Access. Waduh, Pak Denny ya menjawab dengan cepat. Oke. Quite good.
Okay, so there's 3, right? Okay, so maybe I'll go to the next slide and let's see which of you guys got any of these 3, right? So we had digital strategy execution, customer experience management, digital product leadership, infonomics, innovation culture, digital leadership. Wow, this business model agility, interesting. Can also actually. Okay, so hold on. So we have, can we see who? Let's see the first one first. Hold on. Pak Danny, innovation culture, digital leadership, digital workplace, maybe not really, but it's more like customer, coming in. But let's say Pak Bagas, digital channels and ecosystem, we didn't put that, but actually it can be also. Business model agility. Yeah, possible, and innovation culture. So, okay, if that's the case, I'll give it to Pak Bagas.
Oke, catat ya Andi ya, Pak Bagas untuk yang.
Okay, so next. So basically, I think there's also what we call we have another system called loan origination. What it does is that it allows you to, approve loans straight through, do a digital credit underwriting. That means, look at the customer risk and then generate the document, accept, and then upload all the financial statements and look at the industry, and it's Sharia compliant as well. So, what we have done, right, is actually instead of, the manual process when you originate a loan, the bank employees are checking more than 100 plus attributes to manually approve the loan. Okay, so what we are doing is that we are straight away, based on consuming all this data, without anybody actually checking at 100 over, we'll straight away come up with the next best action, say whether it's suspicious or not, whether this guy is blacklisted, what's the exposure, risk level, and straight away prescriptive. That means I recommend whether you accept or reject with these pre-integrated data points. So especially for like SME, a business loan, you see people take many, many days to assess the customer. So we actually take, like, within minutes, you can actually assess, because we are consuming so much of these data insights. Yes, the third question. What are the digital characteristics that you think you can have if you implement a good loan origination system? Okay, let's see.
Oke, ini 3 karakter lagi yang relevan dengan juris origination.
So 3 digital characteristics. Yeah, I'll wait for more people to try. So now everybody become an expert in digital characteristics. I see. Okay, one more, and one more is typing, then I'll go to the next slide. Yesi Ratnasari. Okay, so let's go next and see what is it. Okay, let's go to the first one. Let me see who is the first one that answered. Novelia. Infonomics, okay. Customer excellence, customer experience management, and innovation culture. Yes! The first one got it already.
Oh, okay. So the winner is Novelia?
Yes, the winner is Novelia. Okay.
Okay, catat Andi. Okay.
Okay, thank you everyone. So then finally I think we also do debt collection to actually help to collect money, right? So what happens, our debt collection software, is that we do it for collection, recovery, then late stage recovery means we engage lawyers and debt collection agencies, and then until, helping the customer to write off the account. So I think the problem with debt collection is also, you can actually have this Netflix type of experience, with debt collection. Okay, what do I mean by that? It's called hyper-personalisation. Okay, why do I say that? Imagine you have been collecting debt, your orang yang hutang or the debt, right, for so long, okay, that you already know roughly when is he going to pay. You also know a lot about this person. Why can't you tailor your collection treatment to his behavior, which is the reason why hyper-personalization is similar to your Netflix experience. When I go Netflix, if I watch Korean drama, they show me a lot of Korean dramas because they know who I am. Okay, so this is what hyper-personalization is. Means that most of the people, time we talk about segmentation, that means that, for our consumer loans versus our SME loans, maybe you do a segmentation. Then personalization is that Maybe for consumer loans, we say, oh, these are the type of people that are VIP, etc. But why can't we have hyper-personalization to know exactly when is his pay date, when is he going to pay, and only remind him before he pays? Okay, so all that is possible because we have so much data. So you need to be able to personalize your customer insights with your data. Unfortunately, this is not a hadiah moment, but I will share with you what are some of these characteristics. Of course, you talk about better digital strategy execution, customer experience management, and really using infonomics and having the innovation culture. Okay, so with that, I'm going to conclude to say, what do we do to move to the next technology frontier? And seriously, this is what's keeping me awake at night, is what's going to happen to the world. It just keeps changing. It's exciting, but at the same time, I need to actually have like at least a 3-year vision. I mean, a look ahead. Look at the 9 digital characteristics. How do I break down silos and really have this change to have this digital business success culture? Okay, so you need to transform or risk being irrelevant in the future. But to transform is just to figure out these 9 digital characteristics. Like I said, that's a very easy stepping stone to say how I'm going to implement this and actually change the way our organization works. Okay, so with that, if you're interested to talk to us further, you can reach out to us. But meanwhile, I go and pass back to Pak Vicky because I talked so much already.
Yeah, very interesting presentation. May give us insight about, we know there are rapid changing on the financial, especially on the area of pandemic, but somehow you make it clearer by breakdown into 9 characters that the organization should have in order to survive this this chaotic moment. Baik, silahkan kalau Bapak Ibu ada pertanyaan tentang presentasi ini, dan juga mungkin Bapak Ibu di akhir tadi juga secara singkat dijabarkan beberapa produk dari Juristek, Juris Access, Juris Origination, dan lain-lain. Silakan jika Bapak Ibu dan perusahaan Ibu berminat, silakan menghubungi kami untuk mengatur waktu di mana kami bisa melakukan demo. Tapi silakan juga jika masih ada pertanyaan kurang jelas, masih penasaran tentang transformasi digital, monggo kami buka waktu untuk sesi pertanyaan. Yeah. Now we get into a question and answer session. Okay. Wei Han, I think
Yes.
In this digital era transformation, we should be more creative, right? Because we cannot do the business like the old ways, just focus on products and on just selling what we produce. But instead, we, just like you said, we have to focus on our client, our customers, right? And using data to in order to give them a more sophisticated, more personalized services, right? Just wondering, right? On your product, how you get just like Juris Access, Origination, and etc. How you can gather all the data required for this analysis, actually?
So actually, you see a lot of what do you call that? Now we see a lot of customers that are coming to us. They are not banks, They are fintechs, and some of them are not even fintechs. They are like, for example, of course, e-wallet providers are fintechs, but property developers and different people, they are coming to us because they have a marketplace, they have customers, and they want to embed finance into their product offering. Okay, so these people actually already have a lot of data. They have so much
Okay.
data on their customer that they don't need to, because sometimes their customers don't even have credit, that means that they don't know whether they've taken loans from the bank, so they can't tell whether they can pay or not. The normal credit data actually tells you that. But your customer data will already tell you whether this guy is high net worth, whether he's reliable, how much relationship he has with you, based on top that product that he buy. Even if you're a supermarket, whether he always goes for the high-end brand or the low-end brand, you already have an idea of this customer. If you can use the information from this customer to offer him the product that he wants, that will actually change the way you service these people. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, I want to get the Facebook data, etc., and all those things. Because there's always, like I said, security concerns and all that, the minute you start doing that. And even like collection data, like I said, predicting when he's going to pay. Every single month, you know when he's going to pay. So to predict when he's going to pay is, I would say, what we call a no-brainer. It's actually very easy to do because you already have that data. But most people are not doing that. It's like you still call him on the 15th of every month, even though you know that the earliest he can pay is the 20th.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
so
okay. Is there any? Okay, Waihan. Okay.
Oke, Pak Diki, mungkin sambil nunggu Bapak Ibu siapa yang mau nanya, saya sharing feedback ya, agar Bapak Ibu bisa sekalian juga.
Silakan.
Okay, you want to get the feedback first? Andy?
Yeah. While others maybe untuk us,
Should I stop sharing first?
No.
No, okay.
Okay, well. Oke, mungkin kita sambil nunggu Bapak Ibu, mungkin ada yang mau bertanya lagi, bisa isi feedback link juga ya. Karena setelah isi feedback link, kita akan ada sesi kuis ya. Jadi untuk Bapak Ibu yang mau mengikuti kuis, harus isi feedback link terlebih dahulu. Jadi untuk sekarang kita masih sesi Q&A, Bapak Ibu jika ada pertanyaan masih bisa langsung bertanya.
So kalau tak ada pertanyaan deh, I tanya sendiri lah, right?
we see Ratnasari is typing.
No, I will tell you one thing lah. You know, when we created, for example, we decided on digital transformation, right? And to develop all this jurist access back in like 2016, when we know that, the digital transformation, customers are going to engage online and things like that. And for 2 years, even though we created the product, right, not a single customer bought the product. We pitched, I already calculated, to 36 financial institutions, including telcos and all that, and nobody wanted. But I think in February in 2018, we got 4 customers. It's like, the reason is because sometimes we are ahead of our time, but we need to prepare. That's the first thing. Secondly is that a lot of times people will say, why don't you go and ask the customer what they want? We didn't do that. You know why? We already envisage the future roughly, because that's what design thinking comes in. If you really want business model transformation, you need to imagine, how the world will look like and what you want to do. That's why we always come from needs analysis, because we notice every time we go to a banking website, they'll show product 1, product 2, product 3. But if I am a customer, I have no idea, what your product means. You want to take trade financing or that, you don't expect that I know each of the terminology of a product. I just need to tell you what I need, and you can actually recommend the product. So we came from a different angle, and every time we show it to the customers, they say, yes, that's exactly what I want. But we never asked anybody what they wanted. We just sat down and say, let us brainstorm. This is what you call business model innovation. What do you want? And to be brave enough to actually try it out. And like I said, normally the people that adopt are those 3 or 5% people that says that I want to be a visionary. And it's nothing wrong if you don't want to be visionary. Visionary means that I'm going to do it first. But the others want to wait first lah. Whether you succeed or not, then yeah, I will do lah, right? But you need to decide at what stage what you're ready with lah. Okay, yes. So now I think that's a question.
Yes, just one question from Ibu Yesi, but I think it's more like a partnership rather than regular question. So yeah, if we sell to our customer, should it be a complete module, or we can break down into partial module and juristic? But unfortunately, she didn't mention about what product and juristic. Maybe you can explain about.
I can answer. So Yesi, basically bisa per module, tak harus semua module. So per module bisa. Okay, but once again, instead of selling product, we must have let's say presentation, or we meet with our prospect, and then we dig into what their problem, right? Like you said, brainstorming, right? Yeah. So we understand what they need actually. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Ibu Yesi once again asking about. So yes, so it means we can customize the to the customer need, right? Yeah. Oh yeah. Because actually our software is a workflow software. So the way we actually created it is so that it can be customizable. And you know, if it's a customer journey, we actually have a UI UX team. They will come and talk to you, and we do design thinking. What are the personas? Who are the people you try to reach? And what are the pain points you're currently having? How do you do business model innovation? And how do you change the way you engage the customer? I bagi contoh lah, right? So normally for a bank, right, they'll say that, give me 5 documents. Sometimes for SME loan, they'll say, give me 10 documents. Then we have to ask, why do you need this document? Why do you need this document? How can you simplify? Why do you need this? How do you change things? So if you don't do that, it's very hard to offer digital product.
Okay. Another question from Pak Yong San. From Pak Yong San.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do we provide product banking solution, or also provide for managed services? I don't really understand that question, because the managed service, I mean, to me, right, we provide the banking solution, but we do have customers that ask us whether we can provide it as a subscription. We also have customers that says, can we provide as a managed service? So that one we can actually do as well.